price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. If we could please start sharing this space, family. Let's get people in this room before I build. There's a couple announcements I'd like to make before we really get started on the subject here. So let me get some people up in here. I got people in here. I already shared this space. Let me see. I'm gonna share this room one more time to some other people because I definitely love to hear their opinion on this. You know. So yeah, y'all let y'all people know we in here. Y'all let y'all people know we in here. Okay, now let me start off by saying this, and I want to say this because this is a little bit off subject, but I kind of didn't expect it to blow up the way it did today, so it has. I posted a video of some Asian lady talking about how abortion is worse than slavery. And originally, I couldn't find her Twitter because I believe she changed it. That wasn't her original Twitter. She changed her Twitter at. So it was to my understanding that it was deleted. And then we had some brothers and sisters find it for me. I did find her Instagram. But I just want to give a huge shout out to the family because not that video and the video where she was talking about uh, slavery happened to everybody and black people aren't the only people who have a right to talk about slavery. Everybody has a right, pretty much saying get over it. You're not special, pretty much. Family, you guys drug her rightfully slow. So I would like to give a personal applaud to every single last one of you guys. I mean, I'm every time I open my Twitter, it's y'all just dragging this girl, and that's what she deserves. That's exactly what she deserves. Because I saw earlier today they got stop Asian hate. That's starting to trend again because we're talking about our anti-black hate crime. So next thing you know, they're pulling up this Asian hate propaganda. So I'm gonna be doing my best to get ahead of that because we're not gonna have, well, yeah, we'll stop black hate, stop Asian hate, stop LGBT hate, stop everybody hate. Everybody's hated on. No, no, that's not what it is. And that's why I need to make this space I do today. So hold on, let me get some things up here in the Jumbotron. I appreciate you guys for coming in. I might change some of the hashtags in the space. Hold on, let me see something. I want you guys to look at what I posted in the Jumbotron, the first and second thing in the Jumbotron. And then let's pay attention. I'm putting all of this stuff in the Jumbotron. Every single thing I put in the Jumbotron. Y'all need to pay attention because it's all very relevant. Scrolling through. It's all very much so relevant to this topic today. And the reason I wanted to make this is in case you guys didn't know how I really started and became like Afro Elite before. What really pushed me to make my YouTube channel was the argument on black crime. And it was black people that really pushed me. It was some of these black coons who were talking about, well, I mean, we do be killing each other. We do got to do better. And how are we going to expect them to treat us right if we can't even treat ourselves right? That was what pushed me to make the black on black crime debunked video, which was my first video. And since then, I kind of stayed consistent for the most part with the Afro Elite YouTube channel. And that's how you guys know me, like as a YouTuber. Now, so I posted something about Chicago, and this is in the Jumbotron. I posted about this brother who's also from Chicago. He made a video talking about how a lot of these crimes and killings and stuff like that that happen in Chicago aren't due to black people alone. The media tries to portray it as if it's merely due to black, quote, black on black crime, black on black violence. Black people just hate other black people. And it's our culture that's the problem. It's what they call the family structure. It's the music we listen to, the baby mamas, the dad's not in the home. So that's the argument that they were making. Now, this brother is saying that no, that's not what happens. You do have white supremacists who roll through Chicago, killing black people in a drive-by style. I see some requests. I see some requests coming up. Mel, before you get on stage, let me finish. Oh, thank you for sharing that video. The views and the likes went way up. I appreciate that. But anyway, they talk about the black on black crime, and the video shows a white person who's putting on like this black costume, and it's a very, very realistic costume. So much so, like if somebody did a crime and the camera is kind of blurry or the person was moving quickly, you would, through looking at the camera, you would 100% assume that this was a black person. And these things happen all of the time. And when I tell people stuff like this, I have people respond to me as with the, oh well, we do got to stop killing each other. We do got to do better. Now that doesn't necessarily have to do with the police, even though the police are really involved in that. Because also, if you look in the jumbotron, you can see where I posted several different sources that the police are tied to white supremacist organizations. These are things that I've been telling the family for the longest time. In DC, you have a police officer, Lieutenant something, I forgot his name, but he's on paid leave because he was so clicked in with white supremacist organizations in DC, which a lot of DC officers are, but he was so clicked in with them, and it got out obvious and it got outed that the sheriff had to put him on paid leave to investigate his white supremacist ties. These things happen all the time, and these, a lot of times, these are the officers that commit these black violent crimes. A lot of these killings you have going on in Chicago, a lot of them are police officers. Let's just be honest. Let's just tell the truth. And a lot of times the police officers do not get caught. So the media portrays it as if, well, if it's a death in Chicago, that must mean it's black on black crime and black people are just really violent and black people are just animals. Mel, I know you want to speak. I know you want to speak. Just hold on. Hold on. I'm still building here. I know you want to speak on a subject, I'm sure. But anyway, let me think. We have to be aware of this. When we talk about police reform, we don't need that. We need police punishment. We have police out here, and I just put up a couple of sources in the Jumbotron where police officers are just pulling up on black people. In San Bernardino, there was a source, I think is forget what the brother's name is, but the police officers pulled up on him, hop out the car, and shot him within 10 seconds. You have, and shout out to Professor Black Truth for this, you have now the police don't have to read you their Miranda rights before they arrest you. So the police can just come up to you and start putting their hands on you. And if you defend yourself, then you're resisting arrest and assaulting an officer. And then the officer, with their own discretion, is allowed to take whatever lethal force that they feel is necessary. And a lot of times that results in serious injury and often death of a black person. Okay. So I have people who want to request to speak. I'm gonna start letting people up, but let me finish building here. Let me finish building here. Mind you too, and I feel like it's very necessary. Feel like it's very necessary. Mel, I remember you kicking me out of that room. So the fact that you feel like you have the right to speak here is kind of beyond me. Yeah, get out. And he left. He left. Mute your mic, sir. When we talk about white supremacist organizations tied to police that are now committing just executions, drive-bys on black people, and we have President Joe Biden talking about we need police to get more money, we need police reform, we need sensitivity training, we need rehabilitation, we need to teach police to deal with mental health people. When you have things like that, That's an insult to our people and a mockery of the pain and suffering that our people are going through by the hands of these race soldiers. Let me ask a rhetorical question to everybody. When other groups of people are offended, when other religious groups of people are offended, and I need not say their names because you all know who I'm referring to, when other ethnic groups of people are offended, when other sexualities of people are offended, do you ever hear anybody say, we need sensitivity training? When somebody gets on the news and they say something that is deemed anti-Semitic, does anybody talk about, well, that person needs sensitivity training? Not punishment, but sensitivity training. When somebody gets on a platform and they say something that is quote unquote deemed homophobic, transphobic, biphobic, whatever phobic that they came up with that day, do they get sensitivity training or do they get fired? Do they get punished? When people come up and talk about Asian hate crime, how that's not real, there was a black sister not long ago. She was just at work and was talking about how Asians do better because they don't come from the struggle. They get a lot of handouts in their job, and she just get fired. She just got fired. So when you speak on these, when you just speak on these other groups, I'm talking about speak, not doing anything to harm, just voice your opinion of these other groups of people. You will get ostracized from your job. You will lose out your career opportunities. You can lose your businesses. You guys remember that one business? I think it's like a Christian cake shop that got bankrupt or dismantled or whatever the case is because they didn't want to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. That happened like in 2015, I believe, some years back. Because as a religious shop, they said that was against their belief, and they completely took that business down because it offended gay white folks. So if you offend these people, you can lose your livelihood, you can lose your job, you can lose everything, you can lose your school opportunity and all of these things. Yet when a race soldier straight up executes black people, you had Jalen Walker, who was shot 60 times merely for running away. You had other brothers, Robert Adams, shot 5 times for running away, unarmed. Both of these brothers are unarmed, and we have people talking about quote unquote sensitivity training. You have people talking about rehabilitation. So I guess if you show them the movie Roots, if you show them 12 Years a Slave, they're supposed to be like, oh my God, I see that racism is bad now. Gee willikers, I would have never came up with that conclusion by myself. Thank you, niggers. Now I'm going to treat you right. Do you notice that that solution is never brought up with any other race, any other group of people? They can get offended and your livelihood is pretty much ruined, so much so that you got people in the news who don't even want to speak on these issues, on controversial issues. When you talk about abortion, Roe v. Wade, people got to hold their tongue and choose their words carefully. And you got people who are sworn to quote unquote protect and serve the community, and they don't have to follow any rules at all. They get ties to white supremacist organization and they get on paid leave. Let me ask you, if they found out that you as a police officer were a part of some type of Nazi organization and you were doing things that were anti-Semitic, do you think that you would be on paid leave? No, you would not be on paid leave at all. They're still arresting Nazis and they're 100 years old. These Nazis are 100 years old, and these people are just mopping the damn Nazi cells, and they're throwing them in jail. Well, you're 100 years old, you can spend the last couple years of your life in prison. But when a race soldier kills a black child, just like Tamir Rice, they get to just move to the next state and become another police officer. And thank God we have our people who are on the scene and doing the work to make sure that Timothy Loman, his name was put on blast, so he couldn't stay there. He resigned as soon as he got there. But this is a very dangerous situation. This is why we need to push for a hate crime, because these are hate crimes that happen to us by people of the state. These are people of the government. Okay, if you work for the police office, you work for the government technically. So these are government agents who go around executing black people with no sort of consequences, no sort of repercussion at all. And what we're told, and this is one of the things that pissed me off so much that I wanted to make a space. What we're told is that we just need to comply better. We just need to overcompensate for the racism that we're facing. We need to treat them better. We need to be nicer to them than the average person does. We need to acquiesce to their wishes more than the average person does so we don't get killed. That's what we've been told. But I know I got a lot of people who want to speak, so let me get to their hands. You got Black Ice, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, I just wanted to add to the conversation and give a little insight from a personal point of view. I mean, I'm quite sure everyone's seen Jason space the other night when he was showing about the girl who got the gun pulled on, snatched up out the car. You know what I'm saying? They pointed the gun at the kids. Man, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you this right here. Every time I get stopped, the laws is pulling their pistols on me. Not only the laws on the street, because I feel like my manhood being taken. If I let a white boy stop me and I ain't did nothing, and then tell me he gonna go in my pockets, gonna search my car, and if I resist it, I'm gonna go to jail and all that shit. I'm tired of that right there. I mean, for real. But not only with them old bitch ass police, with them old bitch ass white boys, it's these motherfucking Asians in our hood, man. I'm talking about at every store in my neighborhood, nigga. These hoes done pull guns out on me simply because I respond with an appropriate response. I mean, it's like other people, man, you know, especially the dope boys, they gotta kiss their ass to get along with them because they want to sell their dope. They don't know that them Asians, you know what I'm saying? You selling dope on an Asian store, man, them Asians already done reported you to the police. Nigga, them ain't your friends. They ain't nothing but dumpster divers, man. But anyway, man, I'm tired of getting pistols pulled on me, man. I would like a law that, you know what I'm saying, protects criminals. I mean, you know what I'm saying, not criminals necessarily because everybody go to jail ain't a criminal, but people who've been to jail and been out for 20 or 30 years, you know what I'm saying, who want to have the right to own a gun so they can defend themselves and protect themselves. You can get out of jail and get rich. You can't even get a gun because they say you've been convicted of a felony in Texas. And you know what I'm saying? I would like to see laws to deal with that right there because, you know, everybody know the old okie doke, you know what I'm saying, renovated slavery, you know what I'm saying, when they stop, you know what I'm saying, the bondage slavery and then use the trick with the if you've been convicted of a crime, then we got the right to do the same thing we did to y'all when y'all was in slavery. That game been in effect. But what I'm saying is, man, we need to fight for our right to own weapons, man, because that's the only thing gonna stop us. All them Christians talking about this and that, man. Y'all, man, look here, let me tell you something. You better get a gun because these white boys is not playing. And with that, I land my plane.
Okay, and I'm gonna say this before we move on to the next space. I'm gonna say I don't advocate for anybody harming anybody going out there doing anything against anybody initiating any harm or any incident. But what I am gonna say, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are safe. It is your responsibility to make sure that you are protected.
I
Okay.
agree.
So at the end of the day, let's just be honest, because we're human beings. We have a human right. We've been living in a country that has considered us pretty much since the second not the second we got here because we've been here, but since slavery that we are not even human beings. We are 3/5 of a human being, and they still today treat us like that. You have a human right to defend yourself. I know there might be legal repercussions, but all I'm going to say is this, and I'm not advocating any violence whatsoever. All I'm going to say is it is your responsibility to protect yourself and protect your family by any means. Because complying clearly is not working. Complying clearly is not keeping you safe. We have brothers who comply. Philando Castile complied. He got shot 13 times. George Floyd was handcuffed with two grown men on the back of his neck, and he was strangled in broad daylight for almost 10 minutes as he was begging them to get off. How can you comply more than saying, I can't breathe? Please get off me. I'm done. I'm not resisting. Eric Gardner said, I can't breathe. All of these people, they complied and they still got shot to death. It was another brother in Florida. He was hands raised, laying on the floor with that social, not the mentally disabled person, and he still got shot. Now, he didn't die, thankfully. He went to the hospital, but he got shot. They tried to have him bleed out, but he didn't. So all I'm going to say before I get to the next hand is it is your personal responsibility to defend yourself and protect yourself no matter who it is. And I'm not saying go initiate anything or be rah rah or anything like that. I believe there's a way you carry yourself when the police approach you. Okay. You don't want to instigate anything when they approach you. But I mean, let's be honest, would George Floyd had been wrong if he stood up and broke Derek Chauvin's neck? As if George Floyd had the ability to fight Derek Chauvin off, would he have been wrong? I don't think so. But let's move on to the next hand. Goddess, you can go ahead.
Hey, Afro, everybody. I don't know if y'all already talked about qualified immunity or not before. I don't know if y'all talked about that
We
before.
haven't brought that up yet, but yeah, you can bring that up.
I think that is what we need to focus on as far as getting that taken away so that these police officers can be charged. The qualified immunity is what is keeping a lot of these officers on their job and not in a jail cell. So we need to get that qualified immunity. That motherfucker, that needs to go, because if that goes, everything else is open season. And I do promote violence when you come to my house uninvited. So if you call that violence, call it what you may. I don't care, because if you mess with mine, hey, it is what it is. So I ain't gonna second guess nothing at all. So I will protect myself at all costs, and I mean that. And I do have myself, set up for what I need anyway. But anyway, so yes, I do believe that qualified immunity is the number one thing that we need to focus on when it comes to these raggedy police officers. Well, actually, these white supremacists, because that's what they are. They're in these gangs and all kind of shit, and they are set to be against us. So with that qualified immunity, they are bringing these people that are coming from these hate groups, allowing them to get into a police station and become a policeman, and their only thought is to come against us. And so they allow that, and then what keeps them to be able to keep shooting people is that qualified immunity. Thank you.
They need to be sued personally. The qualified immunity never should have applied to them, and they need to be arrested. If you work for the government and the government has given you special privileges, then you need to face special punishment. How does a citizen go to jail for 15, 20 years for murder, and a police officer go to jail for 5? Okay, that's not right. If you have special privileges as a police officer, okay, cool. Then you need to have special punishment as a police officer. Double the responsibility, double the punishment. Then, if you kill somebody as a citizen and you go to jail for 20 years, then a police officer who kills somebody, they need to go to jail for 50 years. And I'm not taking anything less. But let's continue with the hands. A
Hey,
A Lister. Yeah, okay. You were up here.
yeah,
And then we'll go with Brian and JL. Tall, tell the truth. You gotta raise your hand, please. But yeah, you can go ahead, bro.
yo, I just want to tell a lot of black people when you get pulled over by police, you got to command yourself like you're like you actually are somebody. So you got to check the cop and tell him, hey, don't you dare draw no gun on me. It works all the time. Trust me, I've been pulled over more times than anybody could imagine. And then second of all, I like to bring up, which I put in a jumbotron. 40% of cops abuse their wife, children, and kids. So that's who we got in America. So that's who we got policing us. We got like at least half the police are beating on their woman, their wife, and their kids. That's who pulling us over. And last but not least, I just want to say, Tariq, this guy Afro Elite, and then you got Tariq Elite. You could just check my profile and see I had the name Elite before both of them. But FBA first, shout out everybody. That's all I want to say.
You trying to copyright the elite? You trying to trademark the elite word, huh? Huh, brother? That's how it is. That's how we doing.
I'm just saying I had it since
Uh,
2014, bro.
okay, all right. You beat me. All right, I give it to you. Brother Brian, you can go ahead.
First of all, I want to shout out you, Afro Leader, holding this space. I just want to say real quick, we got to knock off this apologizing for our community mentality. I was listening to Jason Black's space on the 15-year-old girl who got pulled and yanked out the car. And you heard these, it's like two or three brothers getting on there talking about, well, she should have had her hands out and maybe she should have done this and that. I just want to say real quick, it's almost like, some of us in our community, we're like conditioned to apologize already for our behavior. Like like we already got to get ready to be criticized. So I just wanted to point that out. We got to start knocking that stuff off because, a 15-year-old girl shouldn't have her rights violated like that. Excuse me, but I'll land my plane there.
You make a great point. And unfortunately, you only have people. We're the only ones who got coons that are brave enough to speak up on that. When anything happens to another group of people, you don't hear, well, yeah, but we got to teach our kids to comply more. We got to do better as a group. When another group of people attack your group and you victim blame your group of people, that justifies the offense from the other group. What he's doing is he's kind of giving them a justification for harming that little girl who didn't do anything and then pulling a gun out on the other girl. So thank you for that. JL, you can go ahead.
All right, I think you made a great point when you said that we didn't ask them for police training. We didn't ask for them to be sent home in paid leave. Think about it, y'all. That is incentivizing it. You could kill someone on the job and they're just going to send you home to get paid while the trial could be 2-3 years down the line. That actually gives you an incentive to go ahead and take that money and continue to kill. I also think that we have to be very careful of these narratives because when all this happening years ago, I said the same thing. Everyone was like, defund police. Well, we don't want the police to be defunded because when they actually went into these Black neighborhoods, the people were not saying that they didn't want the police to be here. They actually said they wanted police, but they wanted better policing and they didn't want to be able, for the police to be able to kill with no punishment. So I think we have to be very careful of that as people, as far as the narratives they feed us and we're like, defund the police. No, police punishment. We want for the fear of God to be put in these police if they touch a person in a way that they shouldn't. But unfortunately, because there are incentives there for them to continue to do it, because there is no punishment, we need to fight for things like, harsher punishment, no paid leave. You get what I'm saying? We need to be more direct in what we stand for as a people, and we need to make sure that we're not swayed by these narratives of, white liberals that, in my opinion, hate us the most. If they're trying to get us to quote unquote defund the police, that should tell us that, hey, there's actually something in that would hurt us. You get what I'm saying? Because defunding the police in the Black neighborhoods, it was actually bringing the crime rates up. That's not what we asked for. What we are asking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, we want for these police to be able to be brought to justice just like a regular person. So that's all I had to share.
Okay, and that's a good point because we have to understand that white supremacy takes both sides of the argument. They're going to take the argument of back to blue, and then they're going to have controlled opposition. And this is what we talk about when we talk about controlled opposition. When we were out there going against the police, and mind you, if you guys remember how it all got started, Black people, specifically foundational Black Americans, we were the first people pushing against the police. It wasn't these white liberals who claimed to care about police brutality all of a sudden. It was us. But what they did is they said, yeah, I agree with Black Lives Matter and everything. And then when they infiltrated, they used one of the COINTELPRO, and I broke the COINTELPRO tactic down. Now, you can argue it's not really COINTELPRO because they're not Black, but it's still the same tactic where they started misleading the movement. It went from punishing the police to, okay, well, now we just need the police department defunded with no specification as to where are the funds going to go. If you tell me you want to defund the police so you can give back to the community and you can lower the crime in the community, because I've said this several times, violent crime in a lot of cases all over the world is directly tied to a community's socioeconomic position. Okay, you have communities that are poor or more impoverished have a higher rate of violent crimes. This isn't just with Black people, this is with everybody. So if you say, yeah, I want to take the money, reallocate the money, and put it to something else that could lower the crime, that could be something, or just give the money to something else. But first off, what we need to do, or what we need to focus on, is actually punishing them, not taking the money away from the police departments, because they're not killing black people because they have too much money. That's not why they're killing black people. They're killing black people because they get away with it. And taking the money away from the police department is not in a punishment is nearly severe enough to be a deterrent from them to do that. So we've allowed, or too many, I'm not going to say we, because people in this room clearly haven't, but too many people have allowed the white liberals to get ahead of our anti-police campaign. And they say, well, what we really need is the police to be defunded because you guys just have too much money. And that's not what we're doing. We're talking about punishment. And look, I know this is not everybody's opinion. And then after this, I'm going to get on to tell the truth. I believe in certain instances, capital punishment is necessary. That is my belief. I'm not going to push that belief on everybody. I understand everybody doesn't believe that. Some people believe, that shouldn't happen, but that's just me. I'm going to say, for the instance of Derek Chauvin, that warrants capital punishment to me. That's my opinion on it. The instance of Jalen Walker shot 60 times running away, that deserves capital punishment to me. Those things deserve capital punishment in my personal opinion. Tell the truth, you can go ahead.
Hey, peace, family, and continuous reparations in progress. I appreciate you opening the space, and wow, it's so many places to go. What I have been doing lately in the streets, people that I know and respect, and maybe they have a little bit of respect for me, I'm not going to even claim it right now, because I think that's going to be based on their actions as we move forward. And sometimes I get wordy, but I try to get to the point where I want to know where their heart is headed. What are they really standing on? It's like, as a father, as a husband, if I say something to my family, to my wife, and I don't demonstrate the fulfillment of what I'm saying, I'm losing points. After a while, it's going to be like, don't pay any attention to them at all. So, we have to put up. And when I'm in these spaces with friends and associates, I try and continually bring them back to, what is your stance on this injustice that we call white supremacy? What is your stance on the evil that's been attacking us for literally hundreds of years? And if your stance is to do nothing, is that really the fate that you have for your grandchildren? You want your grandchildren to be rolled over and murdered by the next race soldier, some 50, 60, 70 years from now. You want your grandchildren to be shaking their heads saying, why is this mess still going on? And to people who are in my circles who may be white, I try and bring them to the same place. And it's like I was listening to a space where someone was sharing some Neely Fuller conversation, and listening to the energy of this one individual who was speaking with Neely Fuller, who claimed that in her LGBTQ-ness that she was happy with life, but she had so much negative angst in talking with him. It was like, no, you're not really happy, but you're trying to suggest that you're happier than those of us who are aware of what white supremacy, what this evil is doing to all of us, and the plan that it has. So again, I challenge people, and I'm around a lot of people who are religious, who claim to be spiritual. And it's like, they need to be brought to, and a lot of us around people who say they believe in God. Look, that means nothing. The Bible tells us that the demons know there's a God and they shudder. But you don't see nowhere in the Bible where it says the demons are trying to repent. So miss me with that. I know there's a God and I'm a Christian. It's about this part right here. It's like the good that we know we're supposed to do. See, and that's in the book of James. the good that you know you're supposed to do, and you're not doing it, then that means that you are a sinner. That means that you are fighting against the good cause. And I think conversations with people who tried out the religious Bible thumping stuff, you know, that's a showstopper right there. What is the good that you're doing to confront the evil in our lifetime? So I'm gonna land my plane right there and keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate what you and guys like Tori and Rain have been doing, sharing the master teacher's work, and you persevering through the tough reading you had a couple of days ago. But man, this is the work that young people like you guys need to do. And I believe that, you know, me being, you know, somebody who's got more time on their hands now because I put in so much work, you know, in the safari jungle, being a school teacher for all these years, trying to live and be an example that all my students could always see that I try to keep it as real as the ground that we stood on. And I've never had a student who saw me in the street and had no respect for me. And I'm like, to me, they don't even have to say anything. When they just look at me or just give me a handshake or a smile, all the money that I could have, should have been paid, it's like, it means a lot less because
Well,
this person.
I'm gonna say this, man. To piggyback off of what you're saying, real does definitely recognize real. When you're a real person, when you carry yourself like a real person, when you're authentic, you don't have to go around bragging about it. You don't have to go around trying to convince other people. Your work will speak for itself. All you have to do is be yourself and do what you're supposed to be doing. And people who naturally gravitate to genuine, real character, true, righteous character, they will gravitate to your character because your character is pure like that. So the fact that you can get respect from the youth shows that you've been putting in the work that you've been needing to put in. So I definitely salute you for that. But let's get, because a couple other people want to speak, so I'm gonna let you land real quick.
Appreciate that. I'm gonna land right there. Everybody stay strong. Keep doing that work, y'all.
Well, thank you very much. Tell it like it is, and he told it like it is. Black Ice, you can go ahead. Black Ice, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, Afro Elite. And for the cat who was talking about the elite, it's more than one elite. So, you know what I'm saying? I respect Afro for being his eliteness. And, you know what I'm saying? I have a little saying that I say, you know what I'm saying? If you walk down the street and you see some cows in the field, ain't now one of them cows gonna say, I'm a cow. You automatically know they're a cow. So a real nigga ain't gotta say he a real nigga, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect is. Cause, you know what I'm saying? I'm down to earth. I'm an everyday brother. I travel in the streets. I drive the streets, man. I'm in Houston, Texas, man. Let me tell you something. Being an unarmed black man, and when I say unarmed, that means I ain't walking around with no strap on my hip. Being an unarmed black man, and you get stopped by these race soldiers, that's scary than a bitch. And I'm going to tell you why, man. Man, look here, man. These white boys is trigger happy niggas, and they is ready to kill you. This is not a game. So when people say, you know, you need to act this way when the police stop you, or you need to be brave, or you need to do this, let me tell you something. Like Neely Fuller said, we are prisoners of war. And when you understand and acknowledge that you are a prisoner of war, then you need to act accordingly. I'm not finna stud up to them white boys. I mean, I'm gonna stand my ground as a man, because I ain't no coward. You know what I'm saying? But Afro, I'm gonna run this past you right quick, then I'm gonna land. Say, man, you know what? I was at the Dollar Tree the other day, and you know they had a black HPD officer sitting out in the front. You know what I'm saying? Being the security guard, you know, getting overtime. And so, you know, I was inquisitive. I asked this black cat. I say, excuse me, young man, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I say, you know, by you being a black officer on the Houston Police Department, I see you got your 2 stripes. That means you're a corporal. let me ask you something. If a war was to break out between the white people and the black people in America, whose side would you be on? And Afro Elite, I want you to just elaborate. What do you think he said?
I think he said he would be on the white people's side, or he'd be
Man,
on the right side, the quote
wow.
unquote right side.
And his excuse was, man, I got to do my job. damn, man, if I was a police officer, ain't nowhere in the world, because I know I'm working around a bunch of racist ass white boy. Ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to take them bitches side over my people, man. That hurt me to the core. And you know what I'm
Yeah, I could
saying?
tell when you said he had 2 stripes. I'm all like, yeah, ain't nobody with 2 stripes as an officer standing up for black folk.
Nah, he a corporal. You know, a corporal is 2 stripes, 3 stripes is a sergeant. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so I mean, it just kind of puzzled me because, man, you know, when you look at black people, man, if they in a position to help you, they supposed to, man. And this goes without saying, man. Where are we going, man? What did we come to, man? We ain't got no friends out here in these streets, man. Man, these white boys, they stopped me the other day, and the killer part about it is these some dunce mother effers. They stopped me and said I was speeding, right? So I asked them, what's the speed limit on the street? I asked one of the officers, what's the speed limit on the street? He asked the other officer, what the speed limit on the street is. I said, God damn it, why is y'all stopping me if you don't even know what how am I speed? You understand the insults and the silly shit they come to you with just to justify the reason why they stop you? They make up reasons, man. You know what they got in Texas now, in Houston, Texas? They got what they call a rolling stop. Okay,
Yeah, they
so
got that in
when
Chicago too. I got pulled over for that.
yeah, and when you come to a stop sign, you stop completely, right? You look both ways, and when you pull off, a block can get behind you and say you didn't stop completely at the stop. That's just a reason for them to stop you. So it ain't no escaping, it ain't no running, man. I don't even see why Africans run from Africa. You can't run from white supremacy. It's global, baby. You gotta stand 10 toes down and fight. And with that, I'm gonna land my plane.
Thank you. Appreciate that. JL, I saw your hand was up before. Did you want to say something?
Oh no, I just wanted to clarify, like, if your stance is gonna be defund the police, it just has to be specific. Because what they'll do is they'll defund the building. You get what I'm saying? Like, they'll make the building poor as hell, but they're still going home with their pensions and their checks. So if you're going to say defund the police, it should be something like, make sure they don't get any early retirement, like certain things. They should be penalized for even killing someone in the first place, and then that punishment should be harsher. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's all.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up with a situation where in DC, they were marching with the people in DC, Black Lives Matter, white liberals, right? And they were actively gentrifying that area. Because when you look at the statistics, DC has what do you call it? Like a lawsuit for $1 billion of gentrification. Like all the Black people are being displaced from their homes. So the same people that they were marching with were basically taking their homes. So I just wanted to clarify, you have to be aware of the bait and switch. That's all.
Exactly. Which is why when we're having our thing, I get very, very weary when I see a lot of non-black people, specifically white people around. No matter how much they claim they care about black people, how much they want to stop police brutality, they always have an alternative solution that winds up not benefiting us, but winds up helping them. Now, mind you, there's too many cases that I've reported on and that other brothers and sisters have reported on that doesn't go mainstream. Mind you, unless these cases go mainstream, you won't hear the white liberals talk about it. They only talk about it if black people talk about it to the point it goes mainstream. You don't see them exposing cops and going undercover with cops, no matter how much they claim they don't like police officers. You don't see them doing that. These people are working with, a lot of these people are police. Let's be real. A lot of these people have police officers in their family. Let's be real. And so, white people can't, I want you guys to understand this. White people hate the police to their very core. They cannot stand police officers. Okay, white people, specifically white men, are the #1 killers of police officers, but they all get on cold when it comes to our black ass. They'll kill a police officer in a blink of an eye. They'll talk about, man, I don't like the cops, and the cops always doing this and that. But then when the cops kill a black person, it's back to badge. You don't ever hear white people talking about supporting police until the police kill a black person. That's the only time you hear police got a really dangerous job. You got to understand they have families too. They don't ever say that with anybody else except when it comes to killing us, justifying killing us. There's a couple more things I want to say, but I want to get to some of these hands. Vovo, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I touched on this topic a bunch of times about the police. Let me say this, right? We got to be adults about this. I know it's a lot of people. We come from a lot of communities where they talking about fuck 12 and all that. You don't want to live in a country where there is no police. Trust me on that. You do not want to live in a country where there is no police. Batman ain't real. Superman ain't real. None of that shit ain't real. When you need somebody to come rescue you, trust me, you want a first responder there. Trust me. And let me say this too, right? The worst police to ever live was J. Edgar Hoover. The best police to ever live was Bass Reeves. In my opinion, we need more police. We need more black police. Let me say that, right? Because I'm gonna close with this. I've never seen a badge jump off nobody's chest and make an arrest. I've never seen a badge jump off nobody's chest and conduct a traffic stop. I've never seen a badge make a drug bust. I've seen people wearing a badge, wearing a police uniform, do all these things, but I've never seen a badge do it by itself. It's not the police, it's the people that's wearing the police uniform. Now, I wish the DOJ would release the stats on what is the race of the police doing the most misconduct. I can guarantee you that it's white police. See, we got a white supremacy problem. It don't matter if it's a police officer. He's still white. It don't matter if he's a doctor. He's still white. It don't matter if it's a police officer. He's still white. White people got some type of evil spirit on them. Period. So I wish the DOJ would release the racists of all of the police officers committing all this misconduct shit. I bet you the black police officers will not be at the top of the list. I bet you number one will be white police officers, and number two, you're gonna see a bunch of Spanish last names. I'll land there.
And to piggyback off of what you said real quick, when it comes to the Spanish last name police officers, we're constantly, when we get told about the police brutality, they always try to crowbar the black and brown, the minority coalition, the people of color. They try to crowbar the Hispanics in there, but they don't want to acknowledge that a lot of the deaths, killing, and brutality that goes on at the hands of race soldiers to black people are done by Hispanic officers. I can give you a few off the top of my head. I just said Philando Castile earlier in this conversation. It was a Hispanic officer, Geronimo Yanez, who shot him 13 times. I can give you a long list of names. The person who killed Eric Gardner, forgot his name, but he was Hispanic. There was a lot of Hispanic officers out here murdering black people. But then when we talk about the murder rate that black people face at the hands of police, they talk about black and brown. But when the police officers get a badge, they don't talk about black and brown.
Can I just touch on one last thing? It was
Go ahead.
It was a situation a couple months ago up there in, I believe it was Rhode Island or something like that, where these kids were joyriding and they were shooting a BB gun out the window, and the police snatched these kids out the car. It was a Latino kid driving. They beat the black kids, spit on them and everything, and they didn't touch the Latino kid that was driving. All the police officers were Latinos.
Wow. Yep. And see, they get on cold with each other. Let me get to some of these hands because there's some more stuff I gotta say, but we got the hands filling up. John Horse, you can go ahead.
Yo, yeah, just piggybacking off of what Vogo and Afro was saying, bro. Yeah, I mean, when you look down in South America, I mean, the police literally down in Latin America, they kill with impunity down there. I heard in Brazil they have like a George Floyd every 28 minutes or something like that. So yeah, though we definitely have a problem with the Hispanic police officers. But yeah, just to piggyback off of the whole police punishment or police reform, you can't reform a bully. You cannot reform a bully. You can't reform, you know what I'm saying? You can't walk up to a hyena and tell a hyena, hey, you need to reform yourself and learn how to eat grass. You know what I'm saying? You should eat fruits and vegetables. You know what I'm saying? You cannot tell a predator that. You're gonna have to either, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna have to get on you're gonna have to speak a language that they understand. And that's, you know what I'm saying, and I believe that, I'm gonna try to codify what I'm saying. We as black people know what we have to do. The Constitution tells us what we have to do against tyrannical governments. The Constitution specifically tells us what we got to do. And I'll just land there.
I'm gonna say like this before we, excuse me, before we move on to the next speaker. I'm gonna just say this. I'm I'm open-minded to police reform. I know this might come as a shock. I'm open-minded right after we talk about Nazi reform. When the society condones Nazi reform instead of locking the Nazis up, when they talk about, oh, why don't you just go to a synagogue and then you can learn about the Jewish religion and you can reform Nazi. After we start reforming the Nazis, then I'll be open-minded to reforming police. But I be damned if you're locking up 100-year-old Nazis for things that they did over half a century ago, and those Nazis didn't even kill anybody, but a police officer who murders a black child gets quote unquote police reform. I'll be damned if the people who harm us face less of a punishment than the people who harm other people. I'm not tolerating that. I'm not trying to hear anything about a police reform. I'm not trying to hear about paid leave. I'm not trying to hear about anything. As JL said, that's an incentive. Paid leave, that's an incentive for you to go harm somebody. Why don't you, man, look, let me calm down. Let me calm down.
Exactly. And the thing is, as Lily Fuller says, you know what I'm saying, as the code book says, police aren't bad. Police aren't bad. Police actually produce compensatory justice. They produce justice. What we're dealing with are not police officers. They're posing as police officers, but they're really neo-Nazis. They're race soldiers. These are neo-Nazis that we are going up against. Germany even said that they learned what they learned from the United States. We have neo-Nazis as police officers. That is what we're dealing with, and we need to act accordingly.
Yes, sir. Like I said earlier, it's your responsibility to protect yourself. Um, Black Ice, you can go ahead. Well, actually, yeah, Black Ice, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to pose a question to the room right quick. Really pose a question, and I would like for anyone who want to respond to this question, be honest and speak with your chest. Don't speak with your heart, because you might get weak. And this question is, and this question was brought to me from Mexico. Somebody on my channel asked me this question from Mexico. If FBA, if black people do get what's owed to them, I'm talking about cash payments, I'm talking about land and everything. Do you think that's the end of white supremacy?
Of course not. No.
No.
Really? So in other words, what you're saying is all the and I notice a lot of black rooms and a lot of black people don't discuss this, but I'm quite sure it's talked about every day with white people. See what I'm saying? White people think if they give us reparations, we're gonna retaliate and get their ass back for what they did to us. Now I'm gonna ask that question again. If they give us what they owe us and we form our own government and everything, do you think that's the end of white supremacy? You said no, so I'm gonna ride with that answer, I guess.
Yeah, white supremacy hates us because we are black. They're able to harm us because we are poor.
No, what do you when you mean the end of white supremacy? Like, what do you mean? Like, what reparations? Absolutely not. That wouldn't be the end of white
Okay. Well, I don't see. I don't want to. I talk freely, so I don't want to get Afro elite. You know what I'm saying? No strike or nothing like that right there. But I can't say this right here. Jason Black came out with race war, and them white boys been popping that shit for the longest. And you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out, and Tupac said, you know what I'm saying, you can't go to war till you get your money right. So I was just asking y'all, if we get our money right, is we going to war? That's all I was asking.
Man, we ain't got the numbers for that. That's kind of crazy, man.
I disagree, but your opinion is your opinion, and mine is mine.
But we don't have the numbers.
Let's move on to the hands, because there's people who haven't spoken yet. Black and Power, you can go ahead.
Peace and blessings to the room, to Afro Elite. Thank you for opening up this space. It's a good space, good topic. The first thing I wanted to say that there's no such thing as police reform. I mean, how can you reform racism or hate for black people out of a racist? So when they say that, they're just saying that and they're telling you to shut up. So when the political figures bring that up and they talk about, well, we're going to have police reform, basically they're saying, shut up, we're going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing. Number two, There's no such thing as a good cop. What other job could you go to and you could mess up and then everybody is quiet about it, right to the top, to the chief of police, and no one says anything? You look at what happened to our brother Ahmaud Arbery. That went straight to the district attorney, and she knew about it. And the only reason why that whole thing blew up is because the video came out, right? So there's no such thing as a good cop. The only good cop is the cop that is retired and then he tells everything that he knows, or he quit the force. Actually, he quit the force and then he tells everything he knows. I did hear another brother, brother Volvo. He brought up that we need more black officers. Being born and raised in East New York and Brooklyn, let me tell you something. The black officers were the worst ones because they always seemed to show off for their counterparts. The white officer will almost want to be more lenient on you, except for the black officer will interject itself in there, and that's just the truth, right?
You in New York? What type of black person? What type of black police?
What you mean? What type of black police?
What's his background? Where he from?
He was black. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask for his. I didn't ask for his birth certificate or where he came from. All I know is he had the same color skin as me. But if you're asking if he was a immigrant, no, they didn't have an accent or anything like that. They were black, and I just remember being pulled out of taxi cabs or stopped in the street many a times by black officers shaking me down, asking me what I had, and they were just doing it just to show off. The other thing I wanted to say is that we need to get out of, as black people, calling police when we just have the let me just say, domestic issues in our homes. All right, if somebody has a gun, they're trying to shoot you, something like that, I get that. But if there's just an argument, if you have someone with they're having a mental health problem, they're breaking down or something like that, don't call the cops because we already see what happens in that situation. Cops show up, they see it as an opportunity when there's a black person that they shoot one of us. So we need to start policing our own neighborhoods. Finally, the other thing I wanted to say is that, again, I'm thankful for this space. Just Steve had a space earlier that talked about, what do we like more, black media or mainstream media? And I believe that this is part of it. What you do, Afro Elite, you do here, and you also do on your YouTube page. And the last thing I want to say is, contrary to popular belief, I was actually in Chicago over this past weekend, and I came back alive. I'll land my plane there.
Oh wow. You see, people actually can live in Chicago. People can spend a weekend in Chicago without coming back home with bullet holes. Wow, isn't that amazing? The media won't tell you that though. That's not what the media would say. I'm gonna say one thing too. When we talk about black officers, let's just be honest. Let's keep it real in this situation. The occupation that the police are supposed to have is not a bad occupation. It's not necessarily an evil occupation. However, it is the system that vets people who gets to come in this occupation and that only allows suspected white supremacists and or confirmed white supremacists in this occupation. The occupation of going around patrolling the community, making sure everything is the way it's supposed to be, that's in and of itself not a bad thing. That's something that communities do need to have. Communities do need to have a form of policing, of a unit where somebody is policing the community to make sure everything is straight. But let's understand, who are the ones hiring these police officers? I believe you just someone just admitted. I believe it was you. This goes all the way up from the lieutenants to the sheriffs to the district attorneys to the mayor to the judges to the prosecutors. Everybody is in on it. This is a whole plot that everybody is in on. Tell me what you have an occupation to where you're supposed to protect and serve and you're supposed to uphold the law and the Constitution. Yet if you snitch on a bad cop, you're going to be ostracized by the rest of the police department. Is that a bad apple or is that a bad tree? That sounds like a bad tree to me.
Mr.
With
Afro,
maybe the exception of a couple good apples that fall off the tree, but it sounds like the tree is rotten itself, not the apples.
If I could say one last thing to close, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, where do you find most of your child predators? You find them in a position where they're either a priest or they're in close proximity of children, correct? So, where would you find a person who is a white supremacist who wants to do things to black people and to violate them? Where would they go? What is the origin of policing in America? It goes right back to the slave trade. It goes right back to, you know, hurting
Slave
black people.
catchers.
We know that, right? So at every job you go to, that job has a certain environment. You know what you can get away with and you know what you can't get away with. So you may work a job, maybe you can have like an extra 20 minutes, for lunch break. Maybe you could leave a little bit early. They all know what they can do because that is the environment of policing. It is racist. The FBI, the CIA, they already said that it is infiltrated by white supremacy. And I'll land there.
Yeah, sir, and that's in the jumbotron too. That confirmation that the FBI, which is notoriously anti-black as well, have admitted that white supremacists have infiltrated the police department. Do you know in the January 6th invasion, the Trump invasion, a lot of the people who are in the Capitol were confirmed to be ex-officers and current officers who actually killed a police officer who was in that building. I'm going to continue with the hands. We're going to go to, you said Israelite. I believe that's how you pronounce your name.
A-lister elite.
A-lister elite. Okay.
Since 2014, yeah. It's a fraternal order of police, man, and a lot of us is playing checkers. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm from Detroit. That's like the most dangerous city in America for since forever. So I done dealt with all types of police. So I was just giving y'all like I've probably been pulled over more than everybody in this group combined together. So I'm just showing you how to deal with them. You really got to tell, hey, don't you dare draw your gun on me. But like I said, we playing checkers and they playing fifth dimensional chess. And I like I said, I post that in a jumbotron. A lot of y'all don't know that. Probably nobody here knows that 40% of cops abuse women. So that's the type of combat we got to fight. That's what we need to put that out there, like, because a lot of people don't know that. I'm pretty sure none of you guys knew that, and if you did, you could correct me. But that's a chink in their armor. That's a weak spot, and we need to attack that spot. Every time a cop pull us over, we're dealing with somebody who beats on his wife. So there it is.
Yeah. And if you think people think that these people would beat on their own wife, what do you think that they would do to a little black child? What do you think that they would do when people bring up the fact that it's a training issue? Police need to be reformed. They need to go through anger management. It takes too long for police to, or it's not long enough for someone who is a police officer to become a police officer. They need more training. I say to them this, okay, because their training is like spectacular when it comes to school shooters. They never seem to kill them ever at all. Now, in the situation with Uvalde, they were all cowards and they didn't want to do anything in the building. But I would say this: if it's not about race, if it is just about the fact that these police officers are just poorly trained and they just don't know how to handle the situation properly, why do we not see exactly those same cases across the board? Are the white police, let me just add, this is a question for anybody to answer. Are the white police trained to handle black people differently than they're trained to handle white people? Because that's the only way you can make the argument that there's such a disparity in the difference between how white people are treated versus black people by the hands of the police. Because I personally have never seen a black police officer body slam a pregnant white woman. I've never seen that. A small little girl. I've never seen that. I've never seen a group of black cops sick some canines on a little white child. I've never seen that. I see that all the time when it comes to white officers doing that with black people. There was a situation not too long ago where a couple cops was beating up this pregnant black girl so bad she lost her baby. So if it's a training thing and it's not a race thing, why is it never that way across the board? Why do we never have white officers doing that to white people then? Why is it? Oh, it seems that it only goes one way, but it's supposed to be a training issue. But I got a lot of hands coming up, so let's get to Bovo. You can go ahead.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying though. That's why I said I wish the DOJ would release the stats. We need to figure out a way to petition them or something like that to release the stats to see who is doing all this police misconduct. What was I about to say? Yeah, we need to find a way to get them to release the stats. You said that are white police trained to treat black people differently? It's not the police, it's the people. And white people are trained to treat black people differently. They teach racism in the home. This is taught in the home. This is part of their rearing process. This is part of their upbringing. So if I'm hearing all day, fuck niggers, I hate niggers, yeah, fuck them, and they need to be back in slavery, and I go out here and I've been hearing this my whole life, and I grow up and become a police officer. How do you think I'm going to interact with these people? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just common sense though. That's part of their training as a child. So it's not the badge, it's the people. Bruh said there's no such thing as a good police officer. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. In order to be a good police officer, you have to have honor and integrity. That's the most important part of the job, that you have to be honorable. We're giving you the keys to society. You police officers have a very important job. Without police officers, we got anarchy. So they got a very important job. And we need honorable people doing that. In my opinion, white people cannot be trusted with that high level of honor of being a police officer. They just can't be trusted with that. The resume says it. If we look at the video, like Afro was saying, there's no we don't see videos of black police officers doing all this shit. It's always white, and Latinos. Always. We don't see black police officers planting drugs or stealing money or riding around in their police car saying, I want to kill whiteys, I want to kill hunkies, I want to kill, but it's audio out there. I talked about this before on my page of white police officers saying, I want to kill the niggers. I just bought an AR-15. I want to send them back into slavery, and we only kill black people. It's audio of that. I'm gonna close with this. There is no black supremacist police gangs.
Yes, it is, bro. I don't know where you live at.
No, you enlighten me now. I've never heard of a black supremacist police gang. I've never heard of a black supremacist.
Well, they white supremacists, bro.
I don't know. All of my bad interactions with police officers have been with white or Latino police officers. I live in Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm gonna say that's interesting. I want to have that conversation, but we got a lot of new people and we got people coming up. So I want to get to some of the new people who haven't spoken yet. And so let me get to everybody. Everybody's going to get a chance to speak. Everybody's going to get a chance to speak.
I'm going to wait a minute because I want to piggyback off of something that I think somebody's going to say. So go ahead.
Okay. The Black Nuremberg, you can go ahead.
B1, everybody to the room. I just
hold on before you go. If everybody can kind of, be to the point with their statements, so we can kind of keep the flow going, not be too long-winded. But go ahead.
I just have one question. How do you reform a white supremacist cop or treasonous traitor collaborator when the paperwork process specifically weeds out anybody that's pro-black? As somebody who took the NYPD exam, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even have to keep saying this, but obviously I do. And then on top of that, as somebody who was almost framed for 3 to 5 by actual black police officers who are treasonous traitors. I don't want to hear all my interactions were with white cops. Dude, you need to have more interactions. That's all I gotta say. Be one.
I need to have less interactions. What type of dumbass shit was that? All right, I'm gonna drop down.
Hold on, y'all. Robbie, you can go ahead.
Peace, family. I get what everybody's saying about some of the black cops, you know what I mean, that toe the line and may be an Uncle Tom. But basically, to point what everybody's basically saying, which is our main problem, which is white supremacy. The irony of it all is you'll have these jokers get in these rooms, talk about black people being on welfare and using state and government benefits. But if it wasn't for policing, they wouldn't even have no job because they don't have no skills. And harming black people has always been a form of entertainment and trolling. So you basically got a racist troll wearing a badge. They sit on their butt in the military. They're not in infantry. They'll be on some regular fly-by-night job and they'll collect a government check for 15 years. Then they'll come to your local community, get on government payroll, talk all this crap when if it wasn't for taxpayers and people paying their salary, they wouldn't even have a place to stay or a roof over their head. And you're right about them beating their wives. They're very insecure people. You have to be a very insecure person to try to have a power trip over somebody that you know, if you didn't have that badge and you didn't have that gun, you wouldn't even be able to stand toe to toe with them. But you have to abuse your authority because you get an emotional release out of it. You know, it's very problematic and it's real easy to spot.
You're absolutely correct. You get it. A lot of, first off, and this goes into the works of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. A lot of these white people are very insecure, especially a lot of the white men are insecure of black men, because you have to be cowardly and insecure to beat on somebody that you know if they put their hands back on you, they're gonna get punished. They're gonna get charged for resisting arrest and fighting an officer. They're going to get double the charges. So they either have to take the beating, and most of the time, you've never really seen a one single cop beat a black dude. It's always a gang of cops jumping on one single black dude who can't defend himself, or else he's going to get more charges. So that's cowardly. These are cowardly people. You can the situation, the school shooting in Uvalde shows how cowardly they are. They were in the building within 3 minutes and didn't do anything to save those children until like what 40 minutes later. You had the parents, unarmed parents, no body armor, no training, no nothing. They were running in the building like, "Hey, I don't care what y'all say. I'm getting my kid out of there." And you got cops with rifles and shields and all that stuff, and they sitting in the hallway. These are cowardly people. John, you can go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I just want to say too. With the black police officers, you are going to for sure have like coons in the mix and everything like that, where they're gonna side with white supremacy and try to show off too. A lot of them some of them gonna be FBA, but also too, remember, some of them aren't FBA. You know what I'm saying? Some of them come from these other cultures and stuff like that, and they look down on Black Americans and stuff like that. Like the situation that's out there in Texas. I think some of the correctional officers are Nigerian or something like that, and they treat a lot of the Black inmates really, really bad. So we just have to understand that. And then also too, like Afro was saying, bro, like, these people are cowards, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Uvalde shooting pretty much proves that. They don't go to war with somebody who has guns. They'll go to war with you when you crying and you screaming, saying, don't shoot me, but let somebody like Micah Johnson or somebody or Chris Dorner show up, all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, everybody's quiet. So I'll end there.
Thank you for that. And we got people coming up. It's not letting me co-host nobody. So if you don't have anything left to say, or if your hands aren't raised, I'm just gonna assume you don't have anything left to add. So I'm gonna take you down. And if you do have something you need to add, you should have your hand up. Okay, but let's go to we'll go to Lawrence, then Nikki.
I did have my hand up. It somehow went down.
Okay, well, all right, Nikki, you can go ahead then.
I'm just gonna say that I was kind of piggybacking off of. I don't know if that was Vovo or someone else, but that's real. I have seen white police officers slamming black women to the ground. There was a 16-year-old girl here in Wisconsin who was pregnant. He slammed her to the ground, and her baby died. She was 6 months pregnant. With me, I don't trust them to the point where I multiple times I've called 911 when I get pulled over. I don't do it all every single time, but when I can see that they are about to be irrational or just straight up racist, I call 911. I even got a ticket one time for calling calling 911 on somebody who just, you could tell when they want to hurt you. You could tell when they want to set you up on some backwards ass charges. One time they slammed my sister's head on the side of her car in front of her kids, and she had a dent on her car. She had a dent on her car, and they did that in front of her kids while they screamed. Um, as far as it being like white people, white cops versus black cops, I feel like I understand that black cops have to work and they have to do their job, but they decide to take that job. They are under system of white supremacy. They change. They turn into someone else. Those cops, after a while, they not black. They wouldn't be someone who I would consider to be black first. They are whatever they have been indoctrinated into, just like black coons on the job who end up, throwing black workers up under the bus. They are no longer, or if they ever were that, but they are no longer anyone who I would consider to be black. So I really don't care who's white or black on a police force. They are all under a system of white supremacy where they terrorize black people because that's what they are there to do. That's their job. That's all I have to say.
I'm gonna tell a brief story, and I've told this before on my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna say it. And I actually, when I called into Jason Black's channel some years ago, and I said this, I'm gonna be brief about this. One day, I got pulled over on what they call what a roll and go or something like that. That's when at a stop sign, the officers allege you do not stop at all of the stop signs. You don't make a complete stop. And to piggyback off of what you said, Nikki, and this is why I'm saying we can't just have, well, black officers are the solution, because you'll have black officers who will sell out for white people. Even Ice Cube made a song about the black cop selling out for the white cop. It was a black cop who pulled me over, okay, and he was being polite and whatnot. Long story short, though, I wound up in the back of a police car, and I was talking to him. I asked him, how do you feel like being a black cop? How long have you been a black cop? And what do you think are solutions that we should do to lower the crime rate in Chicago? And this was the black cop telling me. He's all like, well, what we need to do is we need to kind of go back to the old fashioned way. Now everybody's too scared and everybody's judging the police. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just asking a question. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, what we need to implement is pre-active justice, or proactive justice is what he said. And I'm like, okay, well, can you give me an example of what you call proactive justice? This guy said, oh, there was a group of people that we pulled over, and when we found them, we found out that they were a part of a gang, and they had a whole bunch of like alcohol and lighters and stuff, and they were going to burn a building down. And we prevented them from burning that building down because we pulled them over beforehand. I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. What signs did you use to pull them over? How did you know to pull that car specifically over for your proactive justice? And he paused for a minute and he was like, well, we just recognized them, from another crime. They were repeat offenders. And when I asked him why he pulled them over, he said he pulled them over because the same reason he pulled me over, what is called the stop and go or roll and go. So I'm like, that's interesting. And I didn't say that to him. I'm like, it sounds like stereotype. It sounds like racial profiling to me, what you guys call proactive justice, that this black cop is signing off on. A lot of these black cops, just like you said, Nikki, a lot of these black cops are compromised. Now, if we have some on cold cops who, if speeding, whatever, they give you your ticket or whatnot, and you be about your way. But then you'll have the cops who you speeding and they trying to show out for all the white people in their department. So they pull you over, they frisk you, they got you in the back of the police car. They talking to you any old type of way because they want to show everybody in their department that, hey, I'm one of the good ones. I'm a safe Negro. You don't have to worry about me being off code with the department. So that was a good point you made, and that's something too. When we talk about black cops, we need to talk about who is vetting these black cops, who is allowing these black cops to be officers. Because best believe, there's no way in the hell that a police department that allows white supremacists to become cops are gonna allow a black officer who's on code to become a cop as well. Now, with that being said, I know we got a lot of speakers, got a lot of things they want to say. Lawrence, you can go ahead.
Appreciate it. I'll try to make my points fast. There are coons everywhere, right? In every aspect of our living in this country, from teachers to judges, prosecutors, cops, mechanics, they're there. However, we cannot generalize everybody, when it comes down to it, because white privilege exists because they have people that look like them in every space of this country. When they deal with police, police look like them and see them in themselves, so they get privilege with that cop. Those racist white police, when FBA, your mic is off, FBA and whatever. Um, when when they see us, we don't have that privilege. That's why they kill us like animals, like Jalen Walker. They didn't see themselves or their nephews in that boy. We do need more black people becoming police. They need to get up and go take that easy ass GED required test, because that's when we're going to get privilege. I've got friends that are police and they're on code. I got one that I don't consider a friend who is not on code, but he works in a Gwinnett County Police Department, which is all white folks. The ones that's on code work for APD, and they black folks and they look out for black people. I've been pulled over by black cops and not given a ticket and just drove off. That was my black privilege with black cops that was on code, which what white cops do to each other. And I land right here as I bring my plane down. I'm from California. When I was younger, I got accepted into the LAPD, and I did a lot of ride-alongs with multiple municipalities. There were black cops that were deliberately profiling black people. I saw them, and they even said it. The cop I was riding with, this black dude told me, he said, I make all my arrests by if it looked like a duck, it quacked like a duck, meaning profile, right? But those police departments was a bunch of white folks and Mexicans, and he was one of the token niggas that sprinkled through it in there. And I saw that. Me, I came because of my upbringing and my life. Ain't no way in hell if I would have continued it that I could have been an off code person, you know. And there are people that are not off code, and the test, the LAPD test, was literally asking you stuff like, would you steal office supplies from work? The psych test was easy. It wasn't nothing crazy. Anybody black with a GED can go become a cop. And if we got black people that are on code, we need to be cops, judges, lawyers, prosecutors, public defenders, all that kind of stuff, because that's the only way we're going to have our own privilege in this system. I land.
And I would say this. I'm gonna add on to what you say. On top of that, we need our people in these positions. We also need to develop a punishment mechanism, because the short hat community, they don't need a bunch of look, I'm just saying, the Jewish community, they don't need a bunch of Jewish officers to not get beat up on. They know for a fact that, hey, look, we got our economy makes us powerful enough to where you're not gonna touch us whether you're Jewish or not. So we need to also implement what you said, Lawrence. We need all of the above, everything. We need the cops who are in there. They in there they snitching on the bad cops. They looking out for black people. Also, we need to develop a punishment mechanism. So when cops do something that, oh yeah, you're gonna be punished for that. You're not gonna get no paid time off. That's not going to happen anymore. Big Mike, you can go ahead.
Hello, room. Just wanted to make a couple quick points. I'm like probably a lot of other people in this room where I've been all over the country, and it's just interesting how our people's interaction with the police is the same no matter where you go. If you're from Seattle to LA to Atlanta to New York to Boston, it's the same. You know, even in young children, you can see, like I have some teenage boys, and when I talk to them, I can tell that they're nervous when they get pulled over by the police, you know, and they're teenagers, 16 years old, 17 years old. And so considering where, you know, the police came from, you know, being the original slave catchers, that's where it comes from. um, it's hard to make the argument that there's good police, because if you can be a police officer and you watch your partner shoot and kill a black person in cold blood in front of you and you can't say nothing, you can't speak out against it, well, that right there that makes you a bad person. Forget your career. You don't watch this man just kill a person in front of you and you go and cover up the lie for him with him. But then you say, well, I didn't do it. I'm a good cop. No, if you're going along with that, you just as rotten as they are. So it's a video out here, or a documentary they did about Mike Brown. It's called Strange Fruit. It came out in 2017, and it shows the lengths that they go to covering up. They literally killed that young man in cold blood, and the judge, DA, media, the news, everybody was in on it and made that boy look like a criminal, and they were lying the whole fucking time. They just murdered him. So I'm not going to say that if you're a cop, you're evil, but it's hard to make the argument that you're a good person. Thank you.
And let me piggyback off of what our brother Big Mike just said. There was a situation, and I'm not sure exactly what city this was in, where a white cop was abusing his power against a black citizen. This happened a long time ago, I think in like the 70s. A black female officer intervened. The black female officer intervened to pull him off or stop him, whatever she did to stop him from doing what he was doing. And he started fighting her. He choked her and whatnot. They went back to the station. She got fired for stopping him and lost her pension. And it took about another like 40, 50 years for a judge to give her back her pension for being a police officer. And I'm
with no
saying this to
interest, no interest at all.
exactly. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm saying this to say they don't allow good cops in the office. We're talking about, yeah, it's a few bad apples, a few bad apples. No, it's not a few bad apples. They weed out all of the good apples. All of the people who become police officers who really want to do the right thing and who really want to, protect the community and work for the community, they weed them out. They'll find out who are the good cops and they'll find a way to get rid of you. Jason Black did a documentary, Race War, where he had an interview with a police officer, and he was pretty much saying, "Hey, if they deem you as a snitch, well, they'll send you on like dangerous assignments, and then when you call for backup, they won't send you any backup. They'll do crazy stuff like that to pretty much get you set up to be killed if you're a snitch in the office." So it's they don't really allow now. Now I'm not gonna say every single officer is a bad officer, every single last one 100%, but I am gonna say they're not looking to have any of them in there at all. Anyone who is a good officer, they're slipping through the cracks. Now, with that being said, I want to go to FBA Antonio.
Yo, can you
And
hear
this
me, bro?
brother getting pulled over already.
Man, I had to park down. They passing me up there. But B1, hey man, my only comment I want to make is that I do not believe at all that police officers produce justice. I don't care how black they are or how on code they are as an individual. You're not going to produce justice as an individual in a system which is basically the enforcement arm of white supremacy. They're using that as an anti-black system already. My solution to that, and I've tried to do this in my own community, starting with my own
family, and I'm making inch by inch progress with that. I'll just put it like this: Black citizens in their own community or in their own neighborhood. It's hard to say that we have communities because we don't have businesses like that. Anyway, we have to be able to protect ourselves or be protected in our own community and produce justice right there before we even hop in the car and travel somewhere else. We got to be respected as a people. That means that when outsiders come into our community, we can't let them pick us off one by one. That's what's happening. So what has to happen is that the men of the community must act like men. We are the police. We have to police ourselves. Until we get to that point, we can stop. Yeah, we can. We all know. I'm 32 years old. Metro Detroit. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the city where every suburb of Detroit is sundown town, basically. I know there's a brother in here from Detroit. He could vouch for that. Man, I done been pulled over like everybody in here. So like I said, back to the solution for me. I'm like this. And okay, how can I put it? I'll just put it like this. You know, you got your Second Amendment. That don't mean that you got to be out there trying to be, John Wayne or whatever. Just, just be a presence. Even if you feel, just be a presence. Pull up on that man when he stopped over here. Let them know that we ain't going for the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Let's not react when they kill somebody. Let's pull over, such as did Tariq Nasheed when Designer got pulled over, and it was all them police out there. Pull up. Ain't it pull up something? It's pull up, right? Pull up. We pulling up, right? Stop your car, pull over. If you got time, especially if it's in your own community, stop right there. Let them know you a presence. And I end with this though. When the men of the community, because I talk to my neighbors, it's men around my community, and I'm like, hey, bro, we talk firearms defensively, just to have them to protect their homes, because it's business that happen on the street in our neighborhood that we also want to stop from happening too. You know what I'm saying? But if we the conscious leaders of our, let's say, our block, we can't even stop the little petty shit that happens, bro. How are we gonna expect to stop some somebody that's working for the system from infiltrating our community and picking us off one by one? We got to stop being scared to stand out there like, nah, we not going for that. Man, that's all I gotta say.
Hey, I'm gonna say like this. The Black Panther Party, they were policing the police. I agree with the fact that communities do need a form of policing, and all communities have a form of policing. But the difference is with other communities, their police officers or their form of policing is their own people. White people would throw a fit if they had other groups of people policing them. They don't even like white people telling them what to do. You think that they would allow another group of people to police them? I've seen videos of a white girl throw water at a black cop and call him a nigger and walk off. These people do not respect police, and damn sure not a black one. No other group would allow you to police them if you're not of that group. So, like our brother FBA Antonio said, it is things that we can do. I'm not saying that we should just form another police department because, let's just be a little bit realistic. But there are things that we can do to kind of set the stepping stone of policing ourselves. There's the element of policing is necessary, but who is the one who determines who needs to police the community if it's not the community? And with that being said, let's get to black and power.
Give me the perfect segue into what I wanted to say. But the woman that you're talking about, the police officer who got basically in trouble for trying to protect someone who the officer she was working with was abusing a black man. Her name was Carol Horn, and that happened in Buffalo, New York. It took her 15 years to get vindicated in order to get her pension back. They held her back for 15 years, right? But going back to what you were saying, that you would never have a white community have a black man in there telling them what to do, right? But they don't respect authority, period. I will go right back to January 6th. On January 6th, they rushed the Capitol, and a woman did get killed. She got killed because she was actually trying to get through. But if you just start to go back and you think in your mind, imagine if, I mean, I'm not saying that Black Lives Matter was a legit organization, but I'm just saying if it would have been black people that would have been went to the Capitol and did something like that, it would have been a bloodbath. So that just shows you right there how biased the police department is. They know who to shoot and who not to shoot. So that's why I always got to go back to the fact that there's no good cops, because there's no job in the world that you can go to and you could continually mess up and you be on paid leave, or if you get fired from there, you go ahead and just move to another department. It just doesn't happen. It's an environment that they go into knowing that this is what they can do. The last example I want to bring up is, remember that shooting in West Virginia, and this happened right after when Jalen Walker got killed, our brother. You remember the white guy who got in an accident, a traffic accident, and this happened in West Virginia. It was in Beckley, West Virginia. The white guy had a gun in his hand, and it was police behind him following him. And eventually they shot him, but it took them over 2 minutes, and he faced the cops like twice with the gun in his hand. But it took them at least 2 minutes to kill him. That just shows you the bias in the police department. And in my opinion, we just need to police our own neighborhoods, and I'll land with that.
I'm gonna say this. When it comes to police accountability, police are the only people who are getting punished, who are investigated by other police officers. Okay. When you get in trouble, let's say you're in trouble at work, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're whatever the case may be. When you get in trouble as a doctor, you're not going to get not interviewed, investigated by your peers, by your coworkers. Your coworkers do not investigate you. There's HR that investigates you. There's another company, corporations, or the corporate, they investigate what you do. Police officers, you got the sheriff investigating his lieutenant, as if the sheriff is not going to be biased, as if the judge is not going to be biased when they work with each other every day. You have peers investigating each other and expecting to be like, well, my best friend for 8 years, I did some investigation and I found out he didn't do anything wrong. So you know what? He's back on the force. Oh, wow. What a surprise. I did on my YouTube channel, and if you guys don't know, you guys should subscribe. You can go to my profile and you can click the link right there. But when Derek Chauvin, when he first got found guilty before his conviction, I was talking about, or this is actually before he got found guilty. I was talking about how difficult it was for police officers to even get charged. Derek Chauvin, if you guys don't know, had 18 complaints about police misconduct prior to murdering George Floyd. One of those 18 complaints actually wound up in the killing of another black person. Let me ask you, if you are a dentist, a doctor, a nurse, or whatever the case may be, and you have 18 complaints about you, and the complaints are violent complaints, that as you're giving somebody some medicine, as you're drawing somebody's blood, you punch them in the face. You think that could happen 18 times and then you just get to move on to another hospital? There is no other occupation that I can think of where you can be violent and aggressive towards somebody, leading in the death of multiple people 18 different times, and the only time you get fired is if you globally murder somebody on camera. It had literally the whole world had to light up in order for that person to be off the force. This is the issue when it comes to police accountability, because the people who are supposed to be holding these police accountable, the people who are supposed to be holding them to account and punishing them, they're their friends. There are people who are looking out for them. There are people of their ilk. You're having white supremacists judge and reprimand other white supremacists, and we're surprised that nothing gets done. We demand we demand police to be punished severely for everything that they do. Not only that, something else that people don't talk about, when we find out that these police officers, and Black Eyes, I'm gonna get to you in a second. I know your hand was up, but when we find out that these police officers have, committed an act where they beat up a little black kid or they murdered a black person, every single last case where that police officer has dealt with a black person needs to be investigated. All of the cases where a black person has dealt with that officer has dealt with a black person and it wound up being a violent altercation, all of those cases need to be investigated. Every single last one of them. If you find out that there was racial bias in one incident, then that means 9 times out of 10 that there was racial bias in every single last incident that he was in when it was involving a black person. Okay, so you guys know too, and I'm gonna say this real quick before I get to Black Ice. Every single incident, or every single brutality, every single abuse, every single humiliation that black people face at the hands of race soldiers, it doesn't always end up in a death of a person. We're concerned about how often the police murder black people, which is our primary concern. But there's a lot of concerns where the police wind up just beating the snot out of black people. The police wind up knocking teeth out of black people's mouth, sending black people to hospital with concussions. You got dogs chewing on black people's legs, black people going into the hospital, some black people are never able to really walk the same, live the same type of life. Black people who are traumatized. There was an incident where the cops pulled over this van. I think this was down south in Texas. Pulled over this van, wrong van, by the way, pulled out a whole bunch of little black girls and laid them out on the concrete with their hands behind their back as they were pointing guns at them in the middle of the summertime, and they had the wrong vehicle. So these little black girls just laying on this hot concrete in the middle of the street, and now, thankfully, they survived, but things like that are traumatizing. Things like that black people have to deal with all the time. You got schools calling cops on 6-year-old little black kids. You got 6-year-old little black kids in handcuffs in the back of a police car, constantly getting the cops called on them. You got cops throwing black people around like damn rag dolls. Not all of it winds up in death, but every single last one of it needs to be treated as if it is a human rights violation. As Malcolm X said, all of the incidents need to be treated as that. Because if this was the Jewish community, and let's say the officers stemmed from Nazis, and we were the Jewish community, every single incident that they felt that the police officers were mishandling their power, abusing their power, that would be taken as a human rights violation, and it would be taken as nothing less. So we need to take this as nothing less than human rights violations. You literally have cops who drive by black people, hop out and shoot them within 10 seconds. You have cops who are doing drive-bys on black people. Tamir Rice, there's another one, Robert Adams. You running away and you getting shot close to 100 times in the back, unarmed. You getting strangled in the streets. And if it's not caught on video, probably nobody's going to know about it. These are human rights violations, and they need to be punished and treated as such. Black Ice, you can go ahead.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Afro, I don't know if you're really familiar with the laws in Texas and how they operate. But man, it's buck wild out here in Texas, man. Say, man, you don't have to have out here in Texas, you can carry a gun. You don't have to have a permit or concealed weapon permit. You don't have to have nothing. And when I say Afro, when I say everybody in Texas got guns, everybody out here in Houston, woman, everybody got guns. So, I wish that black people, going toward the future, we should stop arguing with people that you don't know, because, you know what I'm saying? Man, these people out here, they'll pull a gun and shoot the shit out you dead, man, straight up. And ain't no questions asked, man. This is the wild, wild west out here. And I wish we would, as black people, I ain't trying to tell y'all what to do. But I wish we as black people, we should stop using semantics and stop misinterpreting these chess moves that these peoples is making on us, man. Look at her. They say a report came out from the FBI that white supremacists were infiltrating the police department. Let me ask anybody who got any sense. When have you ever known, ever known the police department to not be infiltrated with white supremacists? I mean, as far as I can go back, all I know is when I see a police officer, fear come in my heart. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we don't need to use these semantics and stuff, man. Let's call it like it is. And as far as black police officers being good, man, let me tell you something, man. If you on a department and you got white supremacists around you, that's just like being at the job. You know what I'm saying? When you working around right people and they your supervisors, you either go with what the flow is or you don't work there. And that's simple and plain. And with that, I'm a risk.
You're right. You either comply, you either acquiesce, you either do exactly as the white officers tell you to do, or you're out of the force. They're going to ostracize you. They're going to call you a rat, a snitch, and they're going to find a way to get you out of there, whether you want to or not. That's the truth. This situation is very dangerous. We're not out here playing games. This is not a game. This is life or death. You got literal race soldiers, confirmed white supremacists by the FBI who have infiltrated law enforcement. Can somebody tell me what the FBI is doing to get these white supremacists that they have confirmed to be in law enforcement out of law enforcement? Can somebody tell me what Joe Biden is doing? Oh, well, wait, I'm sorry. Joe Biden actually said he wants to give cops more money.
Can
He said
anybody tell me?
the solution is to give cops more money.
Afro, can I ask something? Who can tell me the new head of the director of the FBI? Can anybody tell me who that is? Do anybody know?
I said his name in one of my YouTube videos. I forgot his name actually. You gotta look it up.
I'm talking about the new J. Edgar Hoover. Who is that? Cause ain't none of them. Let me tell you something, man. People say ain't all white ain't. Let's get some good white people out here, man. And let me tell you something, man. When white people get around other white people, I don't care if they're your friend, they gonna change on your ass. It's a difference between night and day. I'm gonna tell you, man. To be honest, because if you actually think about it, that makes sense, man. I mean, here I am, one person, and I'm around 5 guys that think this way, and I'm supposed to be down with them. If I go a different way, they go turn on me. So for my best interest and for my safety, I need to go with the flow. So stop thinking that these people, your friends. John Henry Clark already told us, black people, you have no friends.
You know what? Let me give you an example, because too many of these black cops have it twisted in their mind. If they are buddy with the police officers, then they wind up liking them. Let me give you the situation with Muhammad Noor, and I debated this a couple years ago with a black Trump supporter, and now I suspect that he's non-FBA, but I don't have any information to confirm that, so I can't say that. But do you guys know that in the situation with Muhammad Noor, when they were pulled in the alleyway, and the white woman, I forgot her name, it's gonna come back to me. When she came up to the car, both of the officers, both Muhammad Noor and his white partner, pulled out their gun. Muhammad Noor was the only one who shot one single time. And he got out the car. He tried to stop the bleeding. He tried to give her CPR, which is, mind you, something that you never see a white cop do. These white cops will shoot a black person 60 times and then walk over to you and put you in handcuffs, put your lifeless body in handcuffs.
It almost seemed like a setup. It almost seemed like they set him up.
Now listen, right? So they did that. Now this was an honorable black cop, got medals and all that stuff, right? So when he went to trial and his white officer had a chance to testify on his behalf, his white officer said, yeah, we pulled out both of our guns and she came up to the car. But he overreacted. He didn't do what he was supposed to do as a police officer. This officer who pretty much could have let his friend go. All this officer had to do was, yeah, I was in the same situation. He was scared for his life, and his actions, as unfortunate as it was, his actions were justified by what he thought the situation was. He could have defended his black officer, but instead he got up there and he said, you know what? I was in the same situation. He overreacted. He didn't do what he was supposed to do as an officer. And then Muhammad Noir was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Do not be convinced, to the black officers out here. Don't be convinced if a white officer is on trial and it's their word to defend you, you're going to prison. These white officers are not out here caping for you. These white officers are not out here talking about back the badge. With the January 6th invasion, when they were out there storming the Capitol and they were chasing that black officer security guard around, did you see any white police officers talking about, well, back the Bledge, and what about he was dangerous and all that stuff? They don't care about black cops. Black cops get mistreated all the time, and it's never, oh, you got to respect the badge, respect the badge. Just only respect the badge when it's a white person against a black person. These I'm telling you, there's the blue line, and the blue line stems from the white line. That's all it's about. It's not about a blue line, because when you say it's a blue line, people act as if it's a colorblind occupation. It's not a colorblind occupation. It's an occupation that stems from chattel slavery. These people stem from slave catchers. These people are literally told by the Supreme Court that their job is not to serve and protect, that they do not have a legal obligation to protect anybody or to prevent crimes from happening. And they don't do it.
Exactly. And the only way that we're supposed to deal with this is we have to deal with it in a logical way. We're going to have a counter to this justice system. We're going to have to produce a counter to everything that they're doing to us.
The only thing I have a problem with is, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Okay, like I said, out here in Texas, you don't have to have a permit and the concealed weapon carry. You know, what do that look like, me having a gun, man, and the police stop me, man? I mean, you know, come on, man, give me a chance, man. These white boys so dirty, you know what I'm saying? They'll shoot you in your back, man. I mean, even in the Wild West days, man, you know what I'm saying? The white men back then, they had respect. They would face you, man. They used to call you you had a yellow streak down your back. You was a skunk. You was a coward if you shot a motherfucker in the back. These new white supremacists, man, these motherfuckers shoot you in the bag. They don't even give you a chance, man. I mean, if that don't say you don't need to respect them motherfuckers, I mean, because I mean, you lose my respect when you don't respect me, and that's just it. Period. So I don't know what y'all think about it. Seriously.
That situation down there in Texas where they, people are just allowed to go buy guns and stuff like that. That's a setup to begin with, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't recommend no black person come on the scene and just, oh yeah, let me just go get a gun, not have it registered, not do nothing. They specifically did that for the suspected white supremacists and white supremacists down there.
I'm gonna say this. I didn't plan on making this a very long space. I'm not going to keep this space open too much longer. If anybody would like to come up and give like their final words, anybody would like to come up who hasn't spoken yet and give their 2 cents on the topic, then you can feel free to do so. But yeah, I'm going to be wrapping this space up in a little bit, but I want to give every speaker who's on here a chance to voice their opinion before we go. So since the hand I see up now is Black in Power, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Afro Elite, just for putting your time and effort into being part of the new Black media. Of course, I always listen to the top 3, but like I said, I'm subscribed to your YouTube and been checking you out on the Twitter Spaces, and yeah, I just appreciate your time and effort because, besides the CNN and the MSNBC, where we're going to get all the fake news from, we needed this type of outlet to, really cater to us as Black people. So I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, brother. And I appreciate your support. I can't do none of this without y'all. I appreciate you. Brother John, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just say, thanks for having the space. I'm gonna just pretty much just end with this. Every Black man on here, bro, we are the police. You know what I'm saying? We are the police for our community. You know what I'm saying? We are the warrior class, bro. We're gonna have to get on code with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like Jason Black says, you know what I'm saying? For the women, you know, our women in our community, you don't call the police. You call us first. You call your brothers first, your dad first, your uncle first. You call your cousins first, your homeboys first. You don't call the police first. You call us first. It's too dangerous right now for us to depend on the police. You know what I'm saying? The race soldiers, man, I mean, we're pretty much just dealing with neo-Nazis at this point. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to have to police the police. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to police our communities. We're going to have to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of nation building. You know what I'm saying? Securing our borders. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to do that. And I'll land there.
Exactly. Nobody's going to do it but us. We've done it before, actually. If you know our history, we've done it before, and we're going to have to do it again, and we will do it again. Okay, we're capable of anything as long as we're on code and as long as we're working together. So thank you for that, Brother John. Brother Davey Jetson, you can go ahead.
Yo, what's good, my brother? As always, Black first. Hey, appreciate this space. I was in here rocking, listening. I like solutions. You feel what I'm saying? But of course, we have to identify what the problem is to talk about a solution. We've already identified multiple problems with the supremacy when it comes down to the police force. I believe one of the solutions can possibly be to integrate our community watch programs with our own closed source version of CCTV, so we don't have to request some body cam footage. We don't have to wait for somebody to be sitting there recording you getting beat up. We already have the footage, and it already gets aired live, almost like a life alert mixed with a community watch, mixed with if you're driving in your vehicle, mixed with like what's the thing called safe car, all that stuff like that. Now we gotta start using this tech and protect your Second Amendment rights. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. FBA Antonio, did you want to say anything? And I agree, you know, brother.
Problem is,
You analyze what the problem is, then comes the solutions. We need solutions to this situation. And we can have multiple solutions. It doesn't have to be a one thing where we all just agree on, okay, well, this is what we do. Everybody, whatever solution you feel like can help lessen this issue, then you can do that. If you feel like having more on-call police officers go into the police department, if you feel like that can work, then that's what you do. If you feel as if getting on like the city council or whatever the case, then you do that. If you feel like running for mayor is going to help, then you do that. If you feel as if pushing for an anti-black hate crime is going to help, then you do that. And everybody can do everything that we can do. It's not just a one thing. We need all hands on deck approach when it comes to this situation, because we're literally at the point where if they want to kill you because they're having a bad day, they can kill you. They can just pull up on you and just shoot you, and they can say, well, you were running away, you fit the description. Let me tell you something. I've been pulled over too many times to count. There's a bunch of times I was pulled over because I quote unquote fit the description of somebody who recently did a crime. I was pulled over one time on my way to work. I used to work at UPS. I was pulled over one time because I fit the description of somebody who just robbed a house, burglarized the house. So they made me get out the car, and this was in the wintertime. They made me get out the car. I had to take my coat off. I had to get frisked. I'm just standing there. They took my license, they scanned it, and then they said, okay, well, you're not the guy we're looking for. You can go. That whole interaction took like, what, 30 minutes. Okay. And I'm late as hell for work. Now, mind you, at the time, I had to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I wound up getting there late as hell. I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I'm cold, I'm irritated because I fit the description of somebody who did something. How many white people get pulled over because they fit the description of somebody? Get harassed because they fit the description. How many videos have we seen where black people are in handcuffs and the officers are like, yo, well, we're in handcuffs because you fit the description. Then you look at the damn description that the officer's given and the person looks completely different. The description is just a Negro. As long as you're a Negro, you fit the description of the officer. Shout out to Black Alpha. I see you in here, brother. But these are the situations that we're dealing with. And it's not just affecting the men, it's affecting the women, it's affecting the children, it's affecting anybody and everybody black. These are crimes against our human rights. These are human rights violations. Shooting somebody in the back as they run away from you 60 times, that's a human rights violation to me. That's not no police need to be trained a little bit better. That's not no, well, they feared for their life. That's not none of that. Strangling somebody in the middle of the street as they're begging for you to stop killing them, that's a human rights violation. All of these things, pulling up on a 12-year-old child and blowing him away within seconds of leaving a car, that's a human rights violation. Okay? Shooting somebody who you told to reach for their wallet, they reach for their wallet and you shoot them 13 times, that's a human rights violation. Shooting somebody in their house, Breonna Taylor, remember? Busting through somebody's door and then shooting them 8 times and then leaving their body to bleed out, that's a human rights violation. These are human rights violations that they wouldn't even do to animals. They don't even treat animals that way. Let me tell you, you want to talk about these white liberals? If officers were out there killing dogs like they're killing black people, you would have white liberals do something to change this. It wouldn't be no defund the police. It wouldn't be no we need police reform. It wouldn't be no animal sensitivity training. It would be, oh, you need to lock them up. How dare you shoot Buster like that? How dare you kill these dogs and cats out here? If they killed animals and abused animals like they do to black people, they would face harsher punishments.
And they're gonna raise $100 billion fund or some shit like that for PETA or something like that too.
They would have him. They would make a whole damn movie series on this dude. It would be a Netflix special on Buster the Canine, who was an American hero before he got shot by the police. And it's real out here. FBA Antonio, you can go ahead.
All right, my closing statement. Thank you for letting me speak again. My closing statement is this, man. Just want to mention some names in FBA history that these men were responsible for taking it upon themselves to be martyrs for their community. They weren't going for the fuckery, the lynch mobbing, and the white supremacists that practice anti-black racism in their community. It had to stop somewhere, so the buck stopped here. I'm gonna start with my favorite. I read this book, y'all, and this is really a response to my brother. He was on the stage. I'm looking. I don't see him no more, but he posed the question, "What we gonna do?" I'm like this with it. Read the book. It's called Negroes with Guns by Robert F. Williams. There was an incident where I'm not gonna go into the whole background and all that. Just get the book. But he was the head of an NAACP chapter, but he was like really on cold, so not just a cliche. And there was a situation where he was pulled over by the police, and it turned into a lynch mob situation. And how did they get out of that? He had some folks with him that wouldn't about to let him just get, you know what I'm saying. So they ended up having to pull out their guns, and they had a little standoff. A couple shots got fired. Hey man, he ain't die right there on the street. So sometimes you gotta. I ain't gonna say sometimes. I'm just that's an example. The next one I want to mention is everybody know Christopher Dorner. Everybody know Micah Johnson. There's another. What's my brother's name? There was a brother named Robert Charles out of Louisiana. You dig? This is back in the 1800s. They tried to lynch mob him. He had to go out like that. Now this is the most notable one what's his name? What's my brother's name? I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared. Oh, Joe Pullum. Joe Pullum out of Mississippi. Now he was spoke on by Fannie Lou Hamer because it was from the same area. You know what I'm saying? When she grew up to be the icon that she is, her example of bravery and manhood came from a man called Joe Pullum. You dig? Out of Mississippi. I think I said Alabama, but it's Mississippi. Look him up. And he had to take out a couple sheriffs. You know what I'm saying? That was on that. And she concluded with because he did that, it was a lot less
of those KKK white supremacists in police uniform coming around their hood like that. It took one person to set it off, and it's like, okay, I don't know if I want to die for this badge. I can't just practice anti-black racism against these Negroes like that. Sometimes it might come down to that, but before we use our weapon to you know what I'm saying, to what's the word I want to use, man? I know we on Twitter. Before we engage in like some sort of like war scenario or something like that, you just gotta be defensive minded. Just you gotta at least have it on you. You know what I'm saying? Be that sort of presence, and if you take anything away from it, just everybody here practice your Second Amendment. You did what I'm saying, and make sure your family and household got it. Then extend that conversation to the community, the neighborhood around you, and maybe we can start from there. Be one.
Well, be one to you. Thank you for all of the speakers who spoke. I greatly appreciate you guys. Everybody who is listening, I greatly appreciate you guys. Let me actually, if you guys have not seen my YouTube channel, you guys can go to my YouTube channel. I talk about police brutality and situations like this quite often. You just can go to my profile, you can click that, and you guys can subscribe. I would appreciate you guys doing so because we definitely need to have these conversations. As I said earlier, I do not condone anybody instigating anything. I'm never going to tell you guys to go out there and harm somebody else or harm yourself or do anything to endanger yourself. But I will tell you this one thing. It is your responsibility as a person to make sure that you get home safe. It is not their responsibility. These officers will not get in trouble if you don't make it home safe. You making it home safe is your responsibility. You making sure your family is home safe is also your responsibility. Okay. I'm not advocating for any violence, but shout out to Michael Johnson. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not advocating for any violence, but all I'm gonna say is it's probably a lot easier for you to get out of a jail cell than you get out of a coffin. I'm not advocating any violence, of course. I'm not. All I'm gonna say is this: these people, the FBI has confirmed are white supremacists, and they can't be reformed. They can't be reformed. There's nothing you can reform these people. You can't reform them. The Jews don't care to reform Nazis. Nazis aren't even doing anything anymore. They're finding them like, hey, yeah, I saw you 70 years ago. Yeah, bring your Nazi ass over here. I'm throwing you in jail. They can barely walk and see. They still locking them up and throwing them in jail for something they did over half a century ago. They don't care about reforming. They care about punishment. And as Black people, specifically foundational Black Americans, we've been the most attacked group of people on the face of the world. So we don't need to forgive anybody anymore. We don't need to talk about forgiveness and, oh my God, the love of Jesus. Jesus will forgive you when you get there. And until you get there, you're going to spend a lot of time reading the Bible in a jail cell. You can really connect with Jesus behind bars. You'll have nothing but you and the Bible and four walls of concrete. And then I'm sure he'll forgive you then. But until then, you need to be punished because nobody talks about forgiveness when it comes to other groups of people. And this march in DC that we're having, we're definitely pushing for an anti-Black. We're definitely pushing for a anti. Let me see, what is it? An anti-Black hate crime. An anti-Black hate crime. These are hate crimes that are done to us, the men, the women, and the children. Hate crimes that are done to no other group of people whatsoever. And we pay taxes to them. And we pay these people. The government pays these people. When they kill us, they say, you know what? Why don't you just go home and order a pizza and lay low for a couple days? You can go on vacation. I'll be damned. If you were a doctor and they found out that you was abusing the patients, you think that they would give you paid leave? If you were working at any place at all and they found out that, hey, you've been stealing from the company, we're just going to send you on paid leave until we investigate. While we're doing while your friends are doing the investigation on you robbing the company, we're going to send you on paid leave. They would never do that to anybody else, but they do that to officers when the officers harm Black people. It's unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. We're changing things, starting off by having conversations like this. I do not want to hear anything about police reform. I don't want to hear anything about we got to do better, black on black crime. You can miss me with all of that bullshit. These people need to be treated like war criminals because that's what they are. And with that, I will see you guys a little bit later. Please, if you guys haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can go to YouTube, Afro Elite on YouTube, and the link is also in my Twitter profile. So you just click my profile and you can go there. We discuss police in further detail, statistics, and all that stuff all of the time. I appreciate all of the people who spoke in here. I appreciate all of the listeners in here, everybody who shared the space, and everybody who will listen on the back end. If you guys are coming in late, I do always put the spaces up on my YouTube channel within the next couple days or so. This should be up sometime tomorrow afternoon, if possible, but it will be up in the later on this week. So if you guys have come in late and you want to see everything from the beginning of the space, you guys can either go back to the beginning because the space is recorded, or you can go to the YouTube channel and you can watch it there as well. But with that being said, I bid you guys a farewell or a good evening, I will say. You guys be safe out here. I really want you guys to be safe. Every single person who spoke here, the next time I host a space, I want to see you guys just to make sure I know you guys are safe. It's a dangerous world out here for us. We got targets on our back. But if we stick together, if we stick on code, if we stay persistent, we can overcome this. I know it seems gloomy right now. It seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't want to be the person preaching out, yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I've seen the promised land. But best believe, if we get on code, if we stick together, if we push forward, we can defeat this. We can end white supremacy. We can create a world that is run off of equity and justice. So with that being said, good night, everyone.